Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the panel session this afternoon, which is going to cover the topic of eNVDs and why integrity matters. I'm Jo Quigley, the CEO of Integrity Systems Company, and a strong integrity system is a sum of many parts, and it is important that each part of the supply chain does its best to meet the integrity system requirements to ensure our industry remains strong. Today we have representatives from each part of the supply chain to discuss our integrity system, including the National Livestock Identification System, the Electronic National Vendor Declaration, and the Livestock Production Assurance Program, which guarantees producers can stand by what they sell when it comes to animal welfare, biosecurity and food safety. These programs are the cornerstones of ISC's work, and I look forward to exploring them today with this panel of experts. But before we go on, I did just want to remind you all that at 1:15 p.m, after this panel, and behind the stage to my left and your right, we'll be running a Mastering the eNVD workshop. So I encourage you to download the eNVD app, have your MyMLA credentials ready, and join the workshop for a step-by-step instruction on how to create and send digital consignments from your phone. If there's time, we'll open the floor up to questions at the end of the panel. But firstly, I'd like to introduce our panellists that we have with us for today. So we have Scott Young, who is the Victorian Farmers Federation Livestock Group President and Sheep Producer. We have Alina Hawkins, who's the CEO of Livestock and Rural Transporters Association of Victoria. Andrew McCulloch, who's the manager of Bendigo Livestock Exchange, and Mark Ingalls, who's the Farm Assurance and Supply Chain Manager with Thomas Foods International. So as I said, for the integrity system to work, it requires all parts of the supply chain to do their bit. And it seems that we start at the top end of the supply chain with the producers to gain their insights into our integrity system. So I'll start first with you, Scott. And as a sheep producer and president of VFF Livestock Group, what do you believe a strong integrity system is crucial for the ongoing prosperity of our industry? What are the elements that you believe are really important from a producer perspective?
Well, we've heard a lot today about programs that industry are putting in place going forward, and as an export industry primarily, over 70% of our stock exported, a good integrity system and good program will ensure that we've got good traceability and can ensure that our customers, that we've got a good product and we can trace that back the whole way through the system.
Excellent. And where do you see particularly the Livestock Production Assurance Program, which is our on-farm program for food safety, animal welfare and biosecurity, as well as the eNVD fitting into that? How are those tools important?
Hopefully it's going to simplify it for producers. I know I get a lot of producers call in to the VFF and they're very concerned. They've got an LPA audit coming up and gosh, what do I have to do? What's going to happen to me? Hopefully with the new eNVD system and the new app, it's going to have all that data in the background. So if you do happen to get audited, that's going to be there. The auditor is going to be able to have a look at that and it's all going to be done for you. So there's no looking back into bookwork and collating a heap of information for you. So hopefully it's going to lessen that impact and lessen the amount of bookwork that you're actually going to have to do.
That's great. And look, I think the importance of having representatives from the entire supply chain here is that every part of that chain has a part to play. And Alina, look, I think transporters are really crucial for maintaining integrity in the red meat industry and play a really key role in ensuring that livestock get to their end destination in a fit and healthy way. How would being able to accept digital consignments benefit transporters?
Oh, definitely having all of the access to that information in one location is super important. We have a lot of hold-ups in transport waiting for paperwork, so whether you're waiting after you get loaded, before you go, trying to find it at the other end. So having that already gone through the system without having to manually handle it, I think is a really positive for transport. You're not waiting to find the NVD that's strapped to a gate somewhere.
That's great. And what advice, I guess, there are a number of early adopters out there, but many that haven't quite got onto the platform as yet. What advice would you give transporters who might just be on the beginning of their eNVD journey?
Oh, I definitely say go out there and give it a go. It's extremely easy to get the app. There's even the girls at the back have got a little card that you can scan. It's really good. We can't fix problems if we don't know that they're out there. So you need to have it a go so we can fix it. This has been a journey for quite some time now. So in order to fix the problems that are in the system at the moment, we need people to use it. So go out there, give it a go, see what there is out there. My advice for people who are new at it would be, if you've still got a Nokia 6110, go out and invest in a smartphone. That is the way of the future. And it also gives you access to all these other wonderful things in the world, including the eNVD. Embracing technology. Technology is your friend, so don't be frightened of it, regardless of what age you are. And obviously with the eNVD, you can blow it up, so you can actually see that the information that you have there is accurate. You're just not looking at a piece of paper. So you can zoom in, make sure your count's right, make sure the address of where you're going is correct. So there's a lot of advantages to it.
Thanks, Selena. And Andrew, I might move on to you. So as a sale yard manager here in Bendigo, what are you seeing in terms of uptake and use of digital consignments coming through for those livestock that are coming through your sale yard?
Yeah, so we're probably seeing somewhere in the realms of 20% of our consignments beginning life as an eNVD at the moment. But in saying that, we're also probably only seeing about 30% of that 20% of consignments fully completed eNVDs at this stage. So our sale yard, and I believe it's indicative of other yards across the country, we are still seeing a fairly small percentage of our consignments as eNVD at this stage. But it is great to see, I guess, some early adopters and some opportunity for change there. So
that's great. And I mean, would you have any advice for producers or agents that are selling through your centre when it comes to using eNVD, or the other important aspect is traceability and NLIS? Any sort of key things that we should be encouraging people to do?
Yeah, I think I guess advice for producers and agents is that this tool does have the capability to reduce administration and simplify things for through our supply chain. I guess advice in terms of other sale yards that are looking to implement it is, we're not there just at the minute. We do have some hurdles to overcome, and I can say that if producers were to present to Bendigo sale yards at the moment on a Sunday with an eNVD, they'll probably get a bit of a strange look from the receiving drover who just isn't ready to receive those, and it's not an end-to-end finalised system. So we do have some work with our software providers to get through those hurdles, and I guess get a system that's really end-to-end easy for everyone. So we're not quite there yet, but there's a bit of work to be done, and I hope continued work with sale yards and their software providers to get there. So.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess, the flow on and the next point in the chain there, Mark, if I can go to you, is, thinking about processes and your suppliers transitioning from, what has historically been a paper-based model to a digital model. What are the benefits that you see and, I guess, hope to be realised through the eNVD?
Yeah, I mean, obviously from an LPA perspective and eNVD, it's the cornerstone of market access for us into our overseas markets. I mean, as a company, most of what we do is export, so having correct information is probably the key. And certainly, with the paper-based system, we do see mistakes, we see differences in numbers, and there is a regulatory requirement from a processor to have that information correct before we process them. Otherwise, we can't. So looking forward, we see that the eNVDs and certainly the apps and things like that will hopefully then take away some of those mistakes that we do see. So, and even some of the interpretation of it. Hand-filled ones, certainly, and I would say within this whole region here, there's some differences in hand styles and the way it reads. So even being able to read some of it's fairly hard. So having legible information on the NVDs is a big plus. And electronically, that takes away that.
That's great, thank you. And I guess just taking it up a level in terms of the broader integrity system, of which there are many elements that are really important in underpinning that market access. I mean, how do you think industry is going with embracing the integrity system, and what changes maybe have you seen in your time, operating in the processing sector?
Well, Joe, as you know, I started way back with MLA, so I've seen some huge changes within the industry in and around this, and especially in around the eNVDs. I was certainly involved in it back in 2011 in one of those original meetings, and it's come a long way. Even though we still say there's little glitches and things in it, by Christ, you should have seen it when it first came out. We are miles in front of where we're at, and I don't think anyone should take away from that, is that we have progressed a long way. And yeah, look, there still might be some areas where we can better it, but get in, use it, and let's see how we go forward, because I think this is going to be the future.
Very good. And 15 minutes seems to just fly by. We've got another 5 minutes. All good. So look, I was just going to round it out probably with a question for each of you. And today up the back we've got our integrity systems stand there, and you'll see initiatives like the NLIS database uplift project, where we're effectively going to build that platform from scratch. We're investing significantly into the digital tools like eNVD. We're looking at ways in which we can uplift the livestock production assurance program, strengthen it and make sure it's ready for the future needs of our customers and markets. So I guess my final question to each of you, and I'll start with you, Scott, is if there was one thing that you would like to see happen, within the integrity system, one thing that would make a difference, what would that be for you?
I suppose just ensure ease of use for producers. And I think we are getting there. I had a producer chat to me the other day, and he's moving house. He'd loaded his cattle on the truck and couldn't find his MVD book anywhere. So he thought, what am I going to do? I'll have a go at an eNVD. So he had a go. He got to the yards and he said to his agent, here's my eNVD, and gave him a QR code. The agent tried to download it. They couldn't do anything. But then she said, give me your phone. And she emailed herself the eNVD, and they made it happen. And, that's his first experience. They got through it. It wasn't the way it's going to work in the future. But I just encourage everybody to have a go and just ensure that it's simplified and easy for producers to use.
Perfect. Thank you. And Alina, what about you? One thing that would really make a difference to you in the transport sector?
I think for, as I said before, just giving it a go is really important. But the huge benefit for us is that it streamlines the business practices back in the office. There's no waiting for paperwork. The office can log in and find what's been going on for the day, and if there's a discrepancy between the yards and the processor, the office can deal with that throughout the day instead of waiting till 3 o'clock in the morning. So that whole supply chain delay that happens because of paperwork can be eliminated early in the day. So
that's great. Thank you. And Andrew, the sale yards view, one thing that we could do better, differently, that would make your life easier, what would it be?
Good question. For us, it's probably building integrity through the whole system, I guess. For us is a lot of people have concerns in terms of the sale yards, and I look at the head counts as a textbook example of that in terms of a farmer will have written down on their NVD that they've sent in 177 head of stock, and we'll have a drover's receipt that says 175, and then there's this discrepancy. So with EID and those sort of things, I think there's an opportunity there to build integrity through our sale process and get that right, and whether there's also an opportunity to feed that back into the eNVD as well, whether that's some footage of stock running up the race or running into the back of the truck that can easily then be called back later, reviewed, and we're seeing some really good things now with AI doing head counts on stock video. So that sort of technology that could potentially be threaded into this system further down the track can just build, as I say, integrity across the whole supply chain for the sale yard for us, along with the EID process, particularly in sheep. So that's my hope for the future, but certainly the eNVD is the future for us. So essentially where it goes.
Thanks, Andrew. And Mark, I'll let you have the last word down the end there before we wrap it up. But one thing that, you'd like to see happen across the integrity system.
Thanks, Jo. I think, look, I'll certainly reiterate a lot of what Andrew had just said, but I suppose as a general comment, a realisation by the industry and by producers as a whole that it's not just a bit of paper. It is something that absolutely backs what we do going into our overseas markets. And it's been mentioned here a couple of times, the swing on how much product we do rely on going overseas nowadays. So as I said, it is the cornerstone. We need to make sure that what we are saying on the MVD is correct, and that we have the ability to back that up with our on-farm practices.
Wonderful. Well, look, thank you everyone for joining us today, and a big thanks to our panellists who have really added, I guess, value and perspective to the story around why integrity matters. We appreciate your time and I guess joining us for this session, but I'd also like to remind you, if you're interested, we've got our workshop at 1:15 p.m. just around the corner, where you can get a one-on-one around downloading the app and using it to create consignments. And just a little plug for the Sky Kelpie, just a reminder, there'll be a couple more demonstrations this afternoon outside. So one at 1:30 p.m. and another one at 4:15 p.m. if you're interested in catching that demonstration. But perhaps a round of applause for our panellists. Thank you.